Welcome to the Set Apart Podcast, where personal development meets biblical truth. I'm your host, Allison, life and leadership coach, teacher, lifelong learner, and a woman after God's heart. This is a space for real conversations about faith, growth, discipline, the ups and downs of life, and how God meets us in all of it. So stick around, because I believe that God called you here for a reason. Hey guys, welcome back to the Set Apart Podcast. Today we're talking about something that I think every one of us wrestles with, but it also seems like such a basic concept in life and in the personal development world, and that is the concept of goals. And not just the ones that we talk about in January and forget about by February, but ones that actually matter. Because here's the question that I want you to think about. What if you actually hit your goals? Not just halfway, not almost, but fully. And not just some cool goals, but goals that actually inspire you. Goals that scare you a little bit. Most people never even start because they're afraid. They're afraid of failure, they're afraid of judgment, or they're afraid of their own potential, which is called the fear of success. Some of us don't even set goals anymore because deep down, we've lost or even broken trust within ourselves. We've said that we would do things and didn't. We've made promises that we didn't keep. So the idea of setting another goal might feel exhausting, or we might even feel defeated. But I want you to imagine with me for a second that you had a magic wand, and with that magic wand, you can actually achieve everything that you've ever dreamed of. And I don't mean just getting healthier or starting a business or traveling more. I mean having the body that you've always dreamed of. I mean building a business that thrives and impacts the world. And I mean something like owning a home in your favorite country and being able to go there whenever you want. Those types of goals. Because if our goals don't inspire us, then we won't move. And if our goals are not clear, then we will never hit them. But most people, they don't even allow themselves to dream that big because they've put on a self-limitation based on what they perceive to be possible. And if you're not willing to dream it, you are guaranteeing that you will never achieve it. One of my mentors always says, at the end of your life, you're either going to have the life of your dreams or a really good reason as to why you didn't. And that stuck with me ever since. So today I want to talk about two things. One, why most people don't hit their goals. And two, how to practically set goals that actually work. The truth about success is that success is very simple. It's not very easy because we have to work through our emotions, we have to work through our excuses, and all the reasons why not. But success is really simple. For example, if you want to lose weight, we all know that you should burn more calories than you eat, or you should eat more fruits and veggies and protein. Or if you want to earn more money, you got to work harder. Or if you want to have better relationships, you got to treat people with respect, period. It's that simple, okay? But there's a lot more that goes into things because we are emotional human beings, okay? So this is not just about achieving more. It's not about just checking things off a box, but it's about becoming someone who follows through. And in the process of achieving your goals, you will become a transformed person. So I want to get into a story of mine, which involves my growth as a runner. So for me, one of the hardest goals I've ever set is to run a marathon. Me and running have never been compatible. I love exercise, but I have historically despised running. And for that very reason, I've made it a life goal of mine to run a marathon by the time I turn 30 years old. And this is big for me because running 1 mile has historically felt impossible. My chest would burn, my legs would ache. I used to have asthma as a child, and I genuinely thought to myself, I cannot do this. I would tell myself, I'm just not a runner. So having this goal to run a marathon, to me, has felt impossible. And I remember signing up for my first 10K, and I actually backed out and I did a 5K instead because I was not prepared, because I still had this limiting belief that I can't. But I knew that if I want to run 26.2 miles one day, I'm going to have to master a 10K and eventually a half marathon and more. Okay. So my first 10K, I backed out and I did a 5K. And finally, I talked to my stepdad, who is an amazing marathon runner. And I told him, I get to run a marathon. We're going to start with the checkpoint of a 10K and a half marathon. And he sent me the link to a half marathon about 5 months out. And I just said, you know what? Let's do it. I know how goal setting works. I know that putting a timeline on things is how goals actually get achieved. So I thought to myself, that's enough time for me to prepare for what seems impossible, which is 13.1 miles. So when I signed up, I was terrified. But I reminded myself that it's not just about running. It's about confronting the version of me that quits when things get hard. And I know that I don't want to be that kind of person. So I started small. I started with the half mile, then 1, then 2, the basics, right? And I dedicated my entire summer to training for my half marathon in September. And over time, things started shifting for me. I remember when I hit my first 5 miles, I thought to myself, wait a minute, I'm a runner. And even though that was hard, it was doable. And I was so proud of myself. And when I hit that first 5 miles in my training, I thought to myself, I can actually see a half marathon possible, which means that I'll be able to see a full marathon possible. So my beliefs started changing and they started catching up to my consistent efforts. So much so that as I was training, I ran multiple 10-mile runs, and they honestly were not that bad. And if I would have known this years ago, I would have thought, who are you talking about? Because she does not run that distance. So when race day came, I was fully prepared because I was consistent, because I was so clear on what my outcome was that I was able to effectively train the months leading up to the race. And let me tell you, this race, my half marathon, was the first time that I ever once ran without stopping. I did not stop once for 13.1 miles. And this to me was unprecedented. It wasn't about the distance. It wasn't about the medal. It wasn't about any of that, but it was about the way that my mindset shifted. It was about transformation in an area that I once thought was impossible. And it represented every time that I used to quit and all the times that I told myself, I can't do this. But this time I chose not to, and I chose to overcome. And that's when I realized that your goals are really not about what you achieve. They're about who you become. Most people, they're out here chasing results, and results really are the indicator of transformation. But real growth really happens when you build credibility within yourself. And by following through on this commitment of mine, I built confidence within myself because I kept my word to myself. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans." It doesn't say he's going to do it for you. It says he will establish it through you. So let's talk about why most people don't hit their goals. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they don't have the resources. It's not because they don't have the knowledge. It's because they are unclear, they're unrealistic, or they're simply not committed. So let's talk about being unclear. You cannot hit a target when you can't see it. If your goal is get closer to God, that's really vague. And I don't know what that target is. But if your goal is, I'm going to read one chapter of the Bible every single morning to spend time with my Creator, that's actually measurable. Or if your goal is, I'm just going to get healthier, and you eat one more fruit per week, you've hit your goal. But I doubt that eating one more fruit per week is actually your goal. If you change that to, I'm going to limit my calorie intake, and I'm going to limit eating sweets to one night per week rather than 5, That's actually specific and that's clear. Number 2, unrealistic. If you try to sprint what was meant to be a marathon, you're going to stack too many goals at once and you're going to set extreme expectations and then you're going to burn out and then you're going to give up. Your goals get to be a stretch and get to be uncomfortable, but they also get to be realistic. And then next one, being uncommitted. This one's really simple. You get to treat your goals as they are urgent and necessary. If you treat them like they're an option, the minute that life gets busy, it's going to slide off your priority list. Commitment is not about intensity. It's about being consistent. So being unclear, being unrealistic, and being uncommitted will always be hindrances to your goals. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." So you don't need to be perfect, but you do get to be clear, you get to be realistic, and you get to be committed. So let me give you a practical framework that I use when it comes to goals in my own life, and I also use this with my clients. Every client of mine goes through this exact framework when it comes to setting goals, okay? So I would invite you to actually get out a pen and paper and write these down with me because I want you to actually apply these to your life. So step 1, vision check. Ask yourself, where am I at right now? What would faithfulness look like here? Or what would commitment look like here? And how will I benefit when I grow in this area? The 4 areas that I would invite you to focus on when it comes to goal setting is faith, fitness, finance, and family. So let's say that you have a fitness goal and you want to lose some weight. You have to start with where you're currently at and then where you want to be. So go get your measurements taken, step on the scale, figure out your body fat percentage. And then from there, you can ask yourself, where do I want to be? So that's step 1, vision check. Step 2, define the win. What does success look like specifically for you? If you want to be healthier, that's not specific. So you can change that into, I'm going to work out 4 times a week for 1 hour a day. Or if you want to be more consistent with God, again, that's not specific. So you can change that to, I'm going to pray every single morning and every single night for 10 minutes. That is specific. Step 3, give your goals a time frame. Without a timeline, your goals will drift away. So pick a window, I would say 30 days, 90 days, or 12 weeks, and create a deadline. Just like I had a deadline for my half marathon, you get to have deadlines for your goals. Deadlines create direction. They create urgency. Step 4, break it down. Big goals are just small steps stacked over time. So again, with my half marathon, it started off with 1 mile and then 2 miles and then 2 miles 3 times a week and then eventually 5 miles and so on. Or if you want to save money, let's say you want to save $10,000. That's going to start with the first $100. Don't doubt the small things because the small things over time build up to the big things. Zechariah 4:10 says, "Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." God honors your starts. Step 5, have accountability. Tell someone. Track your progress. Check in weekly. Accountability might feel like pressure, but in reality, accountability is love. The people in your life who hold you accountable love you the most, even if it feels uncomfortable. And if you have someone holding you accountable, you are so much more likely to hit your goal because we are far less likely to let others down than we are ourselves. So when I was running, I was posting on social media all the time because I knew that I didn't want to face the embarrassment of my followers seeing that I didn't hit my goal. Step 6, which I think is the most important step. Know your why. Your why is what's going to carry you through even when it's not exciting anymore. Your why is going to have you lace up your shoes even when you're tired. Ask, why does this matter to me? What is the bigger reason for me doing this goal? My why when it came to running a half marathon was not to finish with a medal. My why was because I wanted to shut down my flesh, my sinful flesh that wants to keep me playing small. And I wanted to be great. And I wanted to make my younger self proud, that little girl who was so embarrassed that she could not run in the jogathon. I wanted to make her proud. Here's the thing. Faith is not just believing that God can do it. Faith is behaving like he will. James 2:17 says, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. So you can pray all day for breakthrough, but if your habits don't match your prayers, you are blocking your own progress. Faith without structure is just intention. But faith with structure, that is where transformation happens. And you don't manifest God's promises, you partner with God on them, because God cannot move a parked car. So imagine if this was the year you actually hit your goals and you actually decided that you are worthy of all the things you want, because you are. Hitting your goals is not about just being lucky, and it's not about all the resources you have. It's about being consistent and choosing to be committed and choosing to be clear. I want to affirm to you right now that your dreams are not too big. They are just waiting for you to add structure to them. They're waiting for you to believe in them. And when your faith meets action, that is when things will change. So I want you to take this in. By God's grace, I will be faithful in this season because he's called me to build what was once impossible in my mind. Thanks for tuning in to the Set Apart podcast. If this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend or post it to your story. You never know who might need it. Remember, being set apart isn't about being perfect. It's about being purposeful. I'll catch you in the next one.